Good morning, everybody. It is another day. Let me make sure I get this phone on mute so that nothing buzzes when I'm trying to talk. All right. It's the day for oceans. And tomorrow will be, I can only imagine. And then the next day will be the topic I was going to talk about. I told you that video I saw. So um, we'll start there. Hopefully, everyone had a good night, good rest, and you're back with zeal. We're getting ready to rock this day. So let's talk about it. Oceans. Now, if you have guys have had the time to go and listen to it, um, let me know if you've listened to it and what if you think, if you like it, if you anybody find any issues with it so far. Anybody? Have you guys found any issue with the song at all? Just let me know. Anything on the surface nefarious at all? Because I'm gonna get into it, but I'm want to make sure anybody else have any issues with it. If not, we can kickstart this bad boy. All right, let's go. You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery in oceans deep, my faith will stand. Now, initially, when I first heard the song, I couldn't decide if they were talking from Peter's position of walking on water or if they were talking about turmoil, meaning oceans and you're getting drowned and you can't swim, or if they were talking about being able to conquer the water or embrace the water, escape the water. I couldn't, they kept going in and out of, I mean, it, okay, so let's look. So Peter went out on the water. He starts sinking because he took his eyes off of Christ, okay? So you call me out upon the waters, the great unknown where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery in oceans deep, my faith will stand. In and of itself, the imagery is, I mean, pretty straightforward, I guess. Um, the great unknown where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery in oceans deep, my fate will stand. I'm not quite sure how the first part saying that your feet may fail, but in oceans deep your faith will stand. I don't get that flip flop. Like that doesn't it doesn't seem very confident in the person that's calling you out upon the water. That does that make sense? I don't feel the confidence that I should feel from the song about the caller. I feel as though the caller is calling me and I don't have confidence in that person because you said you tell me you call me to great honor when my feet may fail. Um, I, it's a confusing line to me, very confusing. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves when oceans rise. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Again, you see what I'm saying? Like, I can't decide if they're failing and they're trying to succeed, or if they've failed and they can't succeed, or what the oceans represent. If I don't know if it's trouble or if it's a calling to your calling, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so you say God calls you out onto the water. But at the same time, you're saying that the oceans can rise and cover you. so you will keep your eyes above the waves. I, maybe I'm just, weird. Then it says, Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed. You won't start now. Um, okay, so maybe it's just me that I can't I can't see what they're trying to really say to me. I mean, when you just take it as a song, it's a beautiful song. Just by itself, beautiful song. But if his grace abounds in deepest waters, and that's where he called you out to, and he called you out to it. Okay, that's what you know. Um, I, I'm still trying to see how this is from Peter's perspective. That's the only place I can see this song applying is to Peter's perspective because he's the only one that has that record of walking, being called out to walk on water. It is a well known Christian song, Lanessa. Yes, it's played everywhere. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. So here's a problem with when I say words, okay? So grace abounds in deepest waters sounds an awful lot like you put yourself into the deep, not that you were called, because he wouldn't call you into sin. You get the thing with Peter was not the water, it was his taking his eye off of Christ. This song does not have the same context of taking eyes off. In fact, it says it will keep its eyes on. Meanwhile, you're still sinking. So I don't get how you can sink if your eyes are on Christ, because you say in the song that you will keep your eyes there. Your grace abounds in deepest waters, but that has nothing to do with grace, like at all. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. I don't think I've been so baffled by lyrics before. But I do kind of get it because they have this concept in church today that the teeter tottering thing is a constant for people. So then the bridge, Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you may call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. It, listen carefully though, okay? Either you're trying to stay on the surface of the water or you're sinking. But to mix the two doesn't make sense to me. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk on the waters wherever you may call, and then take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. What you were just concerned about, your feet failing and taking you deeper, so grace may abound. I don't, you get what I'm saying? Like just before that, you had just said, your grace abounds in deepest waters. So then is it bad or is it good? I'm confused. I really am. No, I honestly am baffled at this one because I cannot make sense of it. I can't make sense of it. So okay, so let's put it in perspective. As let's just say assume this is all about Peter. Okay, let's assume that they got this idea for the song from Peter walking on water. Let's just assume that for one quick second. Okay, let's do this. Let's just do this real quick because I think we ought to at least give it the best we got, right? Um, all right. So in Matthew 14 verse 22 it says immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into the mountain by himself to pray. Now, when evening came, he was alone there, but the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by waves, for the wind was contrary. Now, in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, "Is this a ghost?" And they cried out in fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, "Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid." And Peter answered him and said, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water." So he said, "Come." And Peter had got down out the boat, and he walked on the water to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began sinking. He cried out, saying, "Lord, save me." And immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. And he said, "O ye of little faith, why did you doubt?" Okay, so we have the story of Peter. So let's try and see if the song makes sense in the idea of Peter. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander. My faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Okay, let's say there are two thoughts here. One, deeper into a relationship, then I could walk there by myself. Okay, but you're not by yourself in this relationship anyway, so you can't go very deep anyway. So that's kind of a given. If you're trying to bring somebody, if he's trying to bring you into relationship with him, obviously you won't get there by yourself. And if you're just wandering, you're never going to get to a destination if you don't have a place in mind. So it sounds to me like you're a floundering Christian that's trying to just do things on their own, and then you just happen to ask God for help. I will call upon your name, keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I'm yours and you are mine. I think I finally get what the song is about. I think I got it. The entirety of the song is about our inability to stay above the wave. And it is a for sure thing that you will constantly fall into the water and you will constantly need because you constantly take your eyes off of Christ. So you have to remind yourself to keep your eyes upon Christ. That's the only thing I could think of. I mean, I get the imagery is a great thing for people to witness. You know, you're sinking and you're reaching out your hand and you're getting help and blah blah blah. I get that the imagery does wonders for people, but is the imagery even remotely true? That's my question. I Okay, so let's assume that Jesus knew that Peter would fail. Okay. And Peter stepped out as Peter would have normally done, which is just, boisterously going up. Bam. He just did it. He's gone. Um, what are they trying to infer with the song? I'm still so torn about it. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that you would. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they start off with a good premise. Um, the Peter story. Uh, It's a baffling thing to me. I'm really at a loss. And I think this might be why many people can't find true meaning in the Bible anymore. Because this has no direction to lead you anywhere to the in the book where to go. The song just says some stuff, but it doesn't really lead you anywhere. There are scriptures that say deep calls to deep, but that's a spiritual calling to the spiritual. That's not what they're trying to convey here. And the only ocean I could think them thinking of is in trouble. So they're calling the waters life and trouble. And Jesus calls them to walk to him. Maybe it makes sense. But they never make it out the water. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm baffled. I'm baffled. Like I'm baffled. It's almost as though the song is inferring that God will constantly call us to locations that will have perilous issues to it. And we are meant to keep falling, but we're meant to keep getting up as well. But if you're saying to take you where your faith is without borders, you can do so many imagery things in your songs that is just it loses its whole where you're going with it. I think this might be one of them. This might be one of them. I think this goes back to the C.S. Lewis topic we had some time ago about whether Christianity is hard or easy. And I think many people make Christianity very difficult. Like this song is the epitome of the difficult Christian journey. Like you're constantly in turmoil in some sort of deep water, and it's always a test to keep faith going. Like at every turn, it's failure waiting to happen. But you know the solution, but you keep going back to the failure. I don't but that okay, with that being said, then that makes a lot more sense. Because the rhetoric today is you fall down, you get up, you fall down, you get up, you fall down, you get up. So that makes more sense now when linked to the way Christianity is today. So I think it's starting to make sense. The cycle in this song is exactly modern day Christianity in a nutshell. They call on God when they think they're in dire straits. They say they're going to keep their eyes on him, but they still end up in dire straits. But it almost becomes a normal thing to keep themselves in that cycle. And almost like they say God is intentionally doing that to deepen their faith. It's almost as though deepening of faith can only happen in turmoil, which is not true. Um, it can happen in any situation, but they seem to harp on the negative issues to bring a positive outcome all the time. So maybe they're just telling you what exactly they want you to believe about the Christian walk. That maybe normalizing failure, and there is enough grace to cover all the failures that you're going to do. So don't worry about failing. That's normal. There is always a way back out of the failure. So don't worry about failing because he's calling you out to water where feet may fail. He's already calling you out to a place that he knows that you're going to fail at. So it's okay if you fail, you can just get back up. So the songs are licensed to fail because the failure is a good thing. The failure brings you closer to God. So that's the joy in the failure. Yeah, see that's the bothersome thing because I'm pretty sure that if you escape it, you're not falling to it. And I if he's going to provide a way out, then the song makes zero sense. That's the only thing I can come up with. I mean, you the imagery is amazing. It's an amazing image song. If you just listen to it and if you ever heard the song, they use the right feel, the cadence, everything about the music. It transports you perfectly to that particular kind of location, oceans. But I think it's just that it keeps you in this euphoric location that's not reality. Like it keeps you so engaged in a type of a fairy tale storyland kind of thing that you don't ever engage with a relationship with God in order to avoid the failing that the song says seems to be normal. That's it. That's what it is. The song normalizes failure as a normal, needed part of your walk. And it's so much a normal part that Christ actually calls you out to that failure. And that becomes your normal state. Get up, fail, get up, fail, get up, fail, get up, fail. And there's enough grace to handle the get up, fail, get up, fail, get up, fail. That's um that's what I would call a license for sin, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you call that giving license to sin? Because when you do fall, you say to yourself, it's just part of life. It's okay. I'm just struggling with this particular thing, and that's just how it's going to be for a while. That makes more sense now. Yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense as to why this song just never sits right. They want people to believe the Christian journey is a series of failures that's acceptable because we live how we live. And the better the Christian becomes more adept at understanding that he fails, the happier he'll be because he'll realize you cannot stop anyway. God didn't intend for you to stop. He's just there to pick you back up when you do. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall for the same thing, it's going to make you stronger. Not quite sure how that works, but that sounds an awful lot like hold 1 second, hold 1 second. It's that sounds an awful lot like this. Hold on, and you tell me if I'm wrong. This is in Romans now, okay? Um, this is in Romans. It sounds an awful lot like, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? Or do you not know that as many of us were baptized in Christ were baptized into his death? Therefore, we are buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we shall also walk in the newness of life. It sounds an awful lot like that song is counter to that passage right there. That sounds an awful lot like the song. It's counter to that verse right there. That executes all the issues right there. That makes more sense to me now. That makes more sense. When you give yourself the license to be how you are saying to God that your grace is so efficient that I'm going to keep doing stuff and I know you'll just forgive me. Heck, he said 70 times 7, obvious, and that's just the people. And hey, you know what? That's just the people, God will just keep forgiving me over and 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 over. You can't. It has been 40 years since my father passed. 40. 40. It feels like yesterday. There is no getting over that. You accept it, but it never. Don't let anybody lie to you and say that pain just goes away. That's BS, and they know it. They just try to act tough. That's BS. It never goes away. It will never go away. If you had any relationship with that person, it'll never go away. People will lie to you all the time and say, "Oh, you just got to strengthen up." Screw that. It doesn't go away. It's not intended to. Otherwise, you never had a bond. You'll remember something good, you'll remember something bad, you'll remember what you will constantly remember. That will never, ever, 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 ever till the day you die stop. Never. Forget that. That's not going to happen. So I finally get the song. I finally get the song. It is normalizing human error and failure and calling it growth. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's crazy. Do not normalize failure, people. Look, I understand it may occur, no doubt. Okay. But when you normalize it, you are sure that it's going to happen. You are solidifying and excusing yourself to the point where it's like, that's just how I am. I can't stop that. That's just my thorn in my side. You'll hear people use that too. That's the thorn in my side. I've asked God to take it away. It's just not going anywhere. So I guess I'll just deal with it. And that's just how I am. I get that that's how you are, but that is not how his life is. So maybe, hear me out, maybe you don't want to give you up. Maybe it's because you like you and you don't want him. That's what I'm thinking it is. I'm thinking that you don't want to give you up. So you say it's part of who you are. But ain't you supposed to be dead? Aren't you supposed to be the dead dude? Aren't you the one that's like gone? So how are you being dead still doing? I'm just curious. That makes sense in the song now. Now the song makes sense. Now it makes sense. Hmm. People don't fall for this. Okay. Do not fall for this. Please don't. You'll hurt yourself. You will hurt yourself. I want to give you guys a preview of Friday because I think it's vital. 25. Okay. Um, I want you to hear this to tell me if it makes sense to you or not. Okay. We'll be talking about this guy on Friday, Tim Ross. I don't know if you know who Tim Ross is. He's I guess he calls himself a pastor. So here's the preview of it. Just listen carefully. That's as loud as I can get it. It's very horrible audio. Very horrible audio. Um, Let me know if you can hear it any better now. Is that a little better? I'll try and get the audio rectified. But here's what it's essentially saying. Everybody wants to be going somewhere, but they don't want to leave um, their situation in order to go, and they keep saying to God to send them. Okay. Um, but what he says after that point is where the crazy comes in. Um, and I'll relate to you. Leaving sounds negative, and going sounds positive. He says, but both leaving and going is positive when it's God that's telling you to leave, even if it's something that God told you to go to before. Now, when you hear it, I'll make sure I fix the sound. But when you hear it, anyway, it's cringy, but it goes hand in hand with everything that's happening this week with the songs. Okay, um, I'll try and download it and bump the sound up so you can hear it a little better. Um, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it does when we talk about it from this aspect that we did today, where it's the constant is you fall and get up, you fall and get up, you fall and get. I just find it weird that we look at human existence, right? And as a child, an infant will be unable to walk. Okay, they depend on pops and moms for everything. Then they learn to walk. Then they learn to run. It's not that the child doesn't fall, but the child doesn't make a habit of falling simply to get picked up. At some point, at some point, the child becomes so old enough that it learns how to balance itself. It learns how to not fall down. It knows how to grip something if it does start to fall, because there are things in place for them to not fall all the time. They start to learn their feet. They get faster, and they know how to control their speed. They can jump off of locations, two locations, up two locations. They can traverse mass amounts of ground in a very little time. But somehow, when it comes to Christianity, we go from infants to infancy. We just keep at the 1 year old level of walking. We never establish a way to walk. And we don't, we expect humankind to continue doing what it's doing by walking everywhere. And when you fall, it's like, oh my goodness, that's out of the blue. That's unusual. Or your feet give out from under you, and you start realizing, well, something is not right. My feet feel weak. So you start to take and pay attention to your feet, right? Your feet, something's up with it. You realize, oh crap, it's fractured. I need to make sure I fix this fracture. Fix the fracture, rehab. Now you can walk again. People never consider falling all the time normal. But in the Christian realm, when you should be running the race, you're always falling. And that's normal for you. How? How is it not a reflection of what humankind actually does? When you were a child, you spoke as a child. And when you're a man, you put away childish things, including falling down all the time. Falling down all the time is not an adult thing to do. You have problems if that's the case. Something's up with your equilibrium. Your feet ain't right. Your back ain't work. Something is wrong with you if you are constantly falling down, expecting people to pick you up. Something wrong with you. Either you're not maturing or you got something busted. Don't let songs like this normalize a fall. And that somehow in the fall is where all the massive amounts of growth. And if it is a massive amount of growth, why do you keep falling down? In any case, we will talk about all of that. Really, I'm betting money on Friday. But more so, tomorrow we'll deal with the I can only imagine thing. Because when that song first came out, the only thing I could think about was, seeing my dad and all that stuff, but I was in a different place spiritually then. And when I finally kind of opened up my eyes to that song, it was a little bit more crazy. We fall down, but we get up. We fall down, but we get up. Quit falling down so you won't have to get up then. How about quit falling down so you don't have to get up? Grab the bar so you don't fall on your butt. How about that? How about doing some squats so you don't have to fall so often? How about working out your spiritual muscles so you don't get weak all the time and keep falling down and collapsing on the ground? How about that? How would you just do some nice leg raises on the word of God so you don't keep falling down? I'm writing my own song right here. Anyway. Whoo-wee. Anyway, we'll talk about that. I can only imagine tomorrow. Don't normalize falling down. Okay, don't do that at all. Don't do that. Savage Patriots will be on today. We'll be discussing some constitutional stuff. Hopefully, Man of Justice will be on with us today. I hope, which means it'll be a nice full panel. Tomorrow, I can only imagine, Friday, we'll talk about Mr. Tim Ross. And there is the week. Right? Scrolling at the bottom, again, do what he called you to do. If he didn't call you to do it, don't do it. Pretty simple. Yeah, you might not get up next time you fall. Anyway, love you guys. Mean it. Have a grand rest of the day. We'll catch you, guys, later, 6:30 Eastern here on Savage Patriots. So don't miss it. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. So please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself.